It's time to take your business to the next level, the boss level. These are the premier business owner strategies and successes being utilized by the industry's top talent today. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss. Now let's welcome your host, Ann Ganguza.
Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguza, and today I am excited to welcome voiceover business and marketing consultant and VO strategist Tom Dheere to the show. As a voice actor with over 25 years of experience, Tom brings a wealth of voiceover knowledge to the table. In his one-on-one strategy sessions, diagnostic sessions, those sound interesting, and his mentorship program, as well as speaker appearances at industry conferences. Tom, I am so excited to have you here today. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, Ann.
Tom, it's chaotic out there. I'll tell you what, there's disruption, there's mass panic, and I think that today more than ever, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we need a strategy more than ever. So I am super duper glad that we are here talking to you about that. So let's get a feel for your take on the industry, because you've been in the industry for, over 25 years, and I'm sure you've seen it evolve kind of like myself. Talk a little bit about your experience in this industry and how it's evolved over the years.
Okay, well, I decided I wanted to be a voice actor in 1994. So I was a graduate school dropout. So I decided in late 94, I got my training and my voiceover demo in 95, which is a cassette tape. I still have it here in the drawer. And then when I got that demo, my coach gave me a little certificate and gave me a stack of Xerox copies of production company listings and said, start your cold calling, good luck. Because in 1995, I mean, there was an internet and some websites, but there was no there was no social media. Mm-hmm. There was no online casting sites. There was no home recording. There was no digital delivery of audio files. There was no phone patch. There was ISDN, but who had that besides the major TV networks, you know? So you had to, I cold called, and I cold called for a year until I got my first gig. So until I joined Voice 123 in 2006.
V2. Same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was pretty much the only way to do it. And also I was going into New York City once a week, voiceovers unlimited, and you'd pay whatever it was, $35 for a 10-minute meetup with a casting director or an agent or a manager, which is how I got my first manager, who I still have to this day, 17, 18 years later. And my cassette turned into a CD, which I was duplicating, burning.
Yep.
Oh, God, the post office
mailing,
hated my guts.
like snail
Yes,
mail.
because I had a long bag of padded mailers, and they'd be like, oh, geez, here comes Tom again. And all right, everybody just gets to the side and just
Yeah.
you know, because I was just constantly sending it out.
Yeah.
And then that evolved into MP3s. So
Or let's start, I think that there's a parallel here. Disruption, right?
Yes.
So it evolved
Yes.
from a tape into a CD into today, which is all
an
digital,
MP3.
right?
Right. And then Voice Bank and Voices.com and Voice 123 disrupted the voiceover industry again. And now AI is disrupting the voiceover industry.
A pattern, Tom, throughout the years. So I don't think this disruption is going to stop anytime soon.
No, it's going to keep going. And what I like to say is that when the light bulb was invented, it disrupted the candle making industry. And nobody cared about the candle makers except for the candle makers. People were saying, oh, good, I can read a book at night without my house burning down. That's where everybody was coming from. It's okay, so the candle makers had a choice. They could go to Congress to try to get light bulbs outlawed. They could go la, 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 which a lot of voice actors have been doing, especially literally today, this week on the voiceover groups. Or they could adjust their candle making industry to accommodate certain parts of the light bulb industry, or they could convert their candle making factory into a light bulb making factory. So you can either fight it, ignore it, adapt to it, or embrace it. And the voice actors that are going to still be standing, for lack of a better term, on the other side of AI and whatever the next disruption is, the ones that are adapting, evolving, learning, growing, operating from a position of abundance as opposed to a position of scarcity and not shouting at the rain, they're the ones that are still going to have a viable voiceover career.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it has really wreaked havoc. And I've been following it. And 2 years ago on the VO Boss podcast, I think that you and I can both agree to do due diligence and educate yourself on evolving technologies or disruptive technologies that can affect your business. And that is so very important that we truly educate ourselves. And I had done a series of interviews, of which I'm still doing periodically, with large companies, people that are working in synthetic voices, AI companies, to ask those tough questions like, hey, what's happening here? And is there transparency? What are your ethics? Do you have objectives in terms of protecting voices as you go? And I think it's been an educational journey for not just me as a business owner and a voice artist, but for the AI companies as well. I think we are all learning and evolving with technology as we go. And I've had experience doing that myself, working in technology for over 20 years, and I still consider myself working in technology. So in terms of your students and your clients, what is your biggest tip now for, let's say, people coming into the industry, how to get a handle on this industry and be successful?
Do as much research as you possibly can. Work with professional coaches who are boots on the ground, blue collar voice actors as well, like who are actively engaged in the voiceover industry. That's not to say that there's not genre coaches out there like Mary Lynn Wisner, for example, who is not a voice actor, but is an amazing coach. There are only a handful of people like that, as you know, Anne. But people who have to continue to grow and evolve with the industry to maintain relevance in the industry and be better than the AIs on a storytelling level as quickly as you possibly can, because they are getting better and better almost daily. Are they going to completely take over the entire voiceover industry? No. Are they going to take away a percentage of certain jobs, of certain genres, mostly for entry-level voice actors? Yes.
Yeah.
So the trick is, how do you get good enough that when you're starting your voiceover journey that you're already better than the AI, so you can kind of leap over that hurdle and be a human narrator as quickly as possible? That's going to be the challenge.
Sure.
What I think that means is the people that are more naturally talented, the people who have theater training, the people who have on-camera film and TV training, improv training, those people coming into the industry, which are all parts of what defines a better actor, are going to have a better chance than people just coming at it from other sectors, frankly. I mean, a registered nurse has every right to stop being a nurse and try to do medical narration for a living. And I encourage that. I've trained people like that. You've trained people like that over the years. But it's going to get harder and harder if they don't have natural storytelling ability, or they haven't been trained in non-voiceover storytelling. So get as many acting classes as you can under your belt. Get as many improv classes under your belt so you can learn how to make strong choices quickly, which is a key to being a good narrator. Understand the technology and maybe get your voice cloned as quickly as possible.
That's very interesting. I'm finding that I do have some people, because I did the series and I've been investigating and educating myself with AI companies for the past few years. I've had people ask me, and not all of them want to shout the rafters, saying, I'm out there trying to figure out how to get my voice cloned or how to get a synthetic voice. But what's interesting is that the companies that are creating synthetic voices, they're also evolving and changing on a daily basis. And so it's really important that as voice actors, you keep up with that. And I'm always a big proponent of, if you have a business, right, you want to understand the market in which you're selling. And so part of that market, if the market is changing, and Tom, I mean, as a business person, right, I mean, you're all about like researching and looking at the market as it evolves over the years, right? Where do you see the market heading in terms of voiceover casting? I mean, where are we going to be able to get these jobs, or where can voiceover talent find work? And I know that's the golden question, right? People they expect a 5-minute answer from me. Well, where can I get voiceover work? But where do you see that evolving and heading as we move on in the future?
That's a great question, Anne. There will still always be a place for needing agents, managers, and casting directors for high-end work. Class A national commercials, high-end video games and cartoons, high-end promo, high-end in-show narration. I don't think that's ever going to change. Casting sites are going to continue to be as relevant as ever, and is still the most effective way for new voice actors to onboard into the industry, because all you need is a credit card, and you can just join a casting site and start auditioning immediately.
Yeah.
The interesting part is going to be the direct marketing part, which I learned the hard way when all of my direct marketing strategies, which worked like gangbusters in 2013, 14, 15, 16, all of a sudden stopped working because so many of those production companies, recording studios that I had worked with through direct marketing strategies have moved to online casting sites just because it's easier for them to curate a roster, manage talent, manage projects. So AI is going to take a chunk out of online casting sites. It's going to take a chunk out of direct marketing clients, the low-end stuff and stuff that would never normally get. Like there's audiobooks out there that will never get produced unless it's an AI voice that's going to do it out of interest or ergonomics or just whatever the rights holder can afford. So you also, new students, when it comes to this kind of strategies, need to figure out, well, what does success look like for them? Which genres do they want to be successful in? And which portals do they need to access to become successful in said genres? So if you want to be on the next Pixar film or be in the next Fallout video game, you need to get a lot of training. You need to get a top-notch demo. You need to get high-end agents, and you're going to eventually need to join SAG-AFTRA. That's not changing. For everybody else, the pendulum is going to swing. Stuff's going to move around. But you're still going to need the aforementioned good training, good demo, good website, good home recording, and the ability to keep up with industry trends by reading blogs, watching podcasts like this, working with coaches like you and me. What percentage of what genre is going to get lost and where you're going to need to go for each of it? I mean, who can say? But if online casting sites stigmatize you, get over it. Get in there, develop your skills.
We can
develop
go home
your
now,
auditioning
Tom.
skills.
That was it. That was the nugget of the day. That was awesome.
Soundbite of the day. Because online casting sites, like I know, because I'm on Voice 123, I audition every day, and I regularly see clients that are posting casting notices that I used to work with 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago who won't take my phone calls anymore because they're on casting sites. That's the only way they'll talk to me. And I'm totally fine with that because you said you got to go where the buyers are. You got to go where the market is going. And if that's where they are, that's where you need to be.
I think there's something to be said if we just tell every boss out there, first of all, be a boss, right? And understand, like, you really have to stop and I think take a look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is we're providing a product to a market. You have to evolve with the market. It's not about your voiceover business and your craft and your art, which yes, it is. But honestly, at the end of the day, right, I want to pay my mortgage, right? And if I want to have a business, it always amazes me, Tom, how you go to conferences. And I know, because I used to teach business classes as well, whenever you go to see which classes fill up first, it's always the performance classes. It's always the
100%. The cartoon and video game ones in particular.
Always those. Because, they're fun. They allow the creativity. But honestly, beyond the fun and the creativity in the booth, you've got to be able to run a business that will make a profit if you want to do this as a business and you're serious about it. I mean, if it's a hobby, that's a different podcast.
Sure.
And I think that what you offer to people as a VO strategist or even just a business strategist is invaluable. And I truly think bosses out there, you've got to step back. And yes, of course, create the product that the market is demanding, right? And also know how to run your business, right? And so I love your story that the people that used to take your calls no longer will take your calls, and now you have to work with them on the platform. And mostly because it's easy and more convenient. And I will be the first person to ask any of you bosses out there, if you're using any form of AI to do anything, let's say create a blog post or maybe play around and change your headshot, and you're using the technology to make your jobs better, more efficient, then you cannot be the person that gets upset if you're not, let's say, evolving along with the synthetic voice aspect of it.
Absolutely.
What about, Tom, let's talk about your website, your online platform, your online storefront. What do you think about that in terms of being able to market your business?
Okay, it's funny because people coming into the industry, most of them realize they need some kind of training, and then they realize, I need to record from home, I need a demo, and then almost all of them think, I need some kind of website, but they don't know why they need a website, they don't know how to build a website, and they don't know what is necessary to create an effective website. What I tell my students is that no one is going to find your website. Nobody. There are literally tens of thousands of voice actor websites out there. the odds of them typing in some stuff on Google, Bing, Yahoo, and finding you is virtually impossible. I mean, TomDheere.com is over 20 years old, and I've been blogging for 14 years. So I've got really good SEO, and I rarely get found on it. Anyway, the point is, your job as a voice actor is to drive traffic to your website. And you do that by being on social media, blogging, creating a presence, creating conversations, creating quality content to get them to notice you. And then there's email marketing and cold calling, which I'm sure you realize that they don't work a fraction as well as they used to, because why should they answer the phone of some voice actor trying to talk about themselves when they're just going to go to an online casting site to cast their next project? They're already more than halfway down the sales funnel anyway on an online casting site, as opposed to trying to get them into the sales funnel through cold calling and all that. So driving traffic to your website is extremely important, and then get them to do the most important thing, which is download your demos. Everything else is irrelevant.
Or click and buy.
I mean, everything else is secondary to downloading the demo.
But now, downloading the demo now, there's some fear that if we allow our audio freely out there, and I have a podcast, you have a podcast, anybody can download this podcast. I've been doing it for 6 years, and potentially turn it into a voice.
Okay. Look, everybody. I've been doing this for 25 years. I have done thousands and thousands of voiceover projects. I've probably done tens of thousands of auditions over the years. I guarantee
Somewhere, some way.
my voice has been cloned without my knowledge many times over. I guarantee that auditions that I have done has been used for broadcast without my consent or without compensation. Every website that exists is going to get hacked at some point. None of our data is safe. It's just not. All you can do is do the best you can to mitigate your risk. Try to be secure. I can't worry about submitting my demo and worrying about it getting cloned. If I was worried about that, I wouldn't have a career. I'd be quadruple bolting the door and hiding in the bathtub. There's just nothing you can do about it. So don't worry about that. Put the demo out there. I mean, because the odds of it happening are extremely slim, but the longer you're here, the more likely it's going to happen. It's just,
Tom, I mean, I think really, again, we talk about bad actors, which is so interesting in our industry. Now, the term bad actor, right? Had I not really delved in deep to talking to people outside of my own industry, I would not have known what the bad actor meant outside of like the literal meaning of it, right? But the bad actors, meaning those companies, right? Or those people that may take advantage, unfair advantage, clone voices without permission, create deep fakes, all of those things. There's always that possibility. And I had such an interesting conversation the other day with Shamala Prega, who is very well known in the AI industry, regarding laws and regulations. And instead of being reactive, which is what we typically are, right? Reactive, something bad happens and then a law or some sort of policy is established that then takes care of it, really trying to, again, educate all of us, not just in our industry, but everywhere, that these things could potentially happen and we need to protect ourselves from bad things. What are your thoughts? I really love your perspective on you can't be worrying about that all the time. But are there any steps that you would recommend, let's say, to protect or to be cautious about that? I mean, I certainly am not going to make my demo not downloadable because I want it to be convenient for people to listen and buy.
It has to be downloadable because when it comes to your direct marketing strategies and driving traffic to your website, the odds of them having a voiceover project for you right now at the time that you have marketed to them successfully and they've actually gone to your website to review your demos, the odds of them actually having a gig for you is infinitesimally small. I can count, I think, on 2 fingers in 25 years that that's actually happened. Representation and online casting sites are for opportunities now. Direct marketing, driving traffic to your website is for opportunities later. They're not going to remember you once they leave that website of yours. They need to walk away with a demo, so they stick it in a folder somewhere in their cloud or on their desktop, so when an opportunity comes along that you may be right for, your demo is right there for them to review. So you have to do it.
I agree. Another thing that I always like to say is that no matter what in a marketplace, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I will pay for things that make my life easier, right? And make my life more convenient. So, for example, I always use my lipstick, right? So my lipstick is reliable, dependable, stays on all day. I don't have to put it on again. I use that as an example product. I pay a lot of money for this lipstick. Now, I certainly feel that AI, pay-to-play sites, driving down rates, no matter what, if somebody likes Anne Ganguza, right, and likes her product, they're going to pay the money and they're going to remember me and they're going to buy it again and again. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
You go to a department store and there's 5 pairs of shoes on the shelf, and 4 of them cost $75 and 1 of them costs $800. Everybody immediately goes and looks at, ooh, what's this? What's the value of this? Why is it worth $800? Well, if they says it's worth $800, then clearly it must be worth $800. So I will happily spend $800 on this pair of shoes. So most people coming into the voiceover industry are broke and perceive themselves as an employee or a starving artist. So they are already immediately devaluing themselves and training voice seekers to devalue them.
Sure.
So it's a systems of thought problem.
Interesting, yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and blow sunshine up everybody's butt and say, you're special, you're wonderful, all your dreams are going to come true, because that's not what the VO Strategist does. VO Strategist does not sell dreams. The VO Strategist sells reality. My job is to give you objective data so you can make informed decisions about your voiceover career. But you want to do everything you can to set yourself up for success. And the first step 1 is mindset. Know your worth. Know your worth based on your pure talent. Know your worth based on your training. Know your worth based on your experience. And know your worth based on what the industry standards are. SAG-AFTRA over here, GVAA over there. Know what your worth is and comport yourself. Maybe it's a little fake it till you make it. I'm not sure. You can do that, having confidence and being confident in your training and your talent and your understanding of the rates. That should empower you to make sure that people aren't buying stuff from you that are shopping in the wrong aisle.
And also, I would say, as a talent just coming in, I don't think you can expect to get into or to become a top tier professional without making an investment. I mean, that's the other thing too. I cannot tell you how many people, they'll be like, I really need coaching, but they don't have the budget. And so in reality, there has to be those things in place. You can't expect to go in and make a ton of money without investing in yourself and investing in that coaching that's going to help you to be the most human voice actor that you can be.
Patience is one of the most important skills that you need to have as a new voice actor. Everyone wants to start talking for money as quickly as possible and using their funny cartoon voices that their dentist told them is hilarious. And that's all great. But if you can't afford the training yet, build a budget, create a savings plan, be patient. Find community theaters or summer theater programs that have free acting and improv training and develop your foundation of storytelling skills while you're saving money to work with a professional coach like Anne or work with a VO strategist, a business marketing consultant like me. There's a ton of things that you can do. But if you dive in when you're not ready, or you go with the first demo coach that you can afford and submit that demo to those agents for the first time, it's not going to go well. It's not going to go well. So I'll never tell anybody not to pursue their dreams, but I will tell everybody to be smart about pursuing their dreams by having, this is what I like to say, no matter what you're doing in life, do it with both hands and on a flat surface.
I like that.
Be smart about it. I learned that when I tried to open an Amazon box with a pair of open scissors like this, which we've all done.
Oh, yeah.
Both
I'm
hands,
guilty,
flat surface.
Very guilty of that. So then let's talk a little bit about rates, because what is your best advice for those actors who might be struggling to find work at their desired rates when there is this perceived race to the bottom with technology disrupting? How can they pivot their approach to succeed and get rates that they deserved?
Learn how to negotiate. And it's not like a Middle East bazaar where you're haggling over the price of a goat or something. The better that you can understand the rate structure of voiceover on a session level and on a usage level, the more empowered you are to educate your clients or potential clients. Because for so many casting notices that I see, or so many emails, hey, I found you on Google, whatever, they've never cast a voiceover in their life. They haven't the faintest idea what the ergonomics are, what project management is involved, or what the rate structure is. Being experienced, there's not necessarily a correlation between being professional and experienced. You don't have to be experienced to be professional. To understand there is a rate structure, I understand what the rate structure is, and I'm able to articulate it to somebody who has no idea how the voiceover industry works. The more that you can do that, the more empowered you are to get industry standard rates, and the more empowered you are to educate voice seekers to value you and not let them use cheap rates. Well, I paid this guy $5. I'm going to leverage it to pay you $5. Will you say no?
Right.
You don't do that. You got to think long term. You have to value yourself and your fellow voice actors, because every time you accept a ratty rate, you're making it harder for everybody else. Every time you accept an industry standard rate, you're making it easier for everybody else.
Okay, so then here's the question. Yes, I agree that there should be the thought process about the industry as a whole. However, you will always have those voice actors that it is their business, right? I'm a big proponent of saying mind your own business. That means don't worry about how other people get their business. In that respect, though, do you know what I'm saying? I want people to understand their worth in order to take the challenge to actually negotiate that worth with a potential client. So speaking of $5, I know that you had talked to me a little bit about an experiment that you had conducted using the online pay-to-play, the F word, Fiverr. And I personally, I'm one of those people that thinks we need to talk about this because it is a viable marketplace in the, viable. It exists in our industry. Let's put it that way. You may not agree with it, and you may not feel that it values your worth, but what were your findings? What do you think about Fiverr?
Okay. It had been coming up so much in conversations with my students, with my fellow voice actors, fellow coaches, producers, panelists at conferences. And like I said, my job as a VO strategist is to collect objective data so I can help my students make thoughtful, informed decisions about how to move their voiceover business forward. Fiverr is real. It is here. It's $1 billion company. There are thousands and thousands of voice actors on it. So I needed to understand what exactly it is, why it is, and how it works. So I created an account. I followed the tutorials. I looked at YouTube videos. I built a profile. And then you build what are called gigs. And a gig is basically broken down by genre. I'm an American voice actor who will narrate your explainer video or e-learning module or whatever. And then what you do is you build the rate, but you're breaking it down bit by bit. So this is what really fascinated me about it, is if someone said to you, "Ann, I've got an explainer video. How much do you charge?" And you probably charge, what, $400, $500, whatever, sometime around there. But if you actually broke down by dollar how much it costs for you to record the video, how much it costs to edit the video, to clean up, process, format, save, deliver, do retakes, give you permission to use the video in a certain way on a certain platform. If you chop up that $400 into all those little individual things, that's basically what you're doing on Fiverr. So it could say base price $5, but then if you add deliver as a WAV file, deliver it within 24 hours, we'll only get 2 retakes. MVP, I'll move you up to the front of the line. If you go da-da-da-da-da, then the total can be $400. It can be an industry standard rate. Fiverr saying everything's for $5, it's more of a marketing position than anything else.
You start, yes. And if you think about that in reality, right, if they're going for that market for the people who don't have a lot of money to spend and they want to go for lower priced, saying Fiverr and marketing themselves as Fiverr, get affordable, then absolutely. I mean, as a business, they built for a market where there was a hole. And now, of course, because they have so many voice artists on it, right, that increases their SEO value, which increases ease, convenience of use. And so that's what makes them the force that they are in the industry.
Right. So there's 3 levels on Fiverr. And if you earn a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time and get a certain amount of ratings in a certain amount of time, then you go to the next level and then the top level. And the people at the top level charge industry standard
rates.
And they do fine. The trick is kind of punching through that membrane of getting from the first level to the second and the second to the third. That's where it can be challenging.
Because I think you have to earn that, right? You have to get so many ratings. And I feel like you'd have to actually work the platform for a bit so that you could get up the ratings, so that you could climb up the ladder, so that you could charge industry rates. Although not impossible, it's a very interesting concept. And because we are talking about it, bosses, doesn't necessarily mean we are condoning that platform. I mean, but if you look at it from a business standpoint, it absolutely covered a hole in the market. And logically, I can see how that works. I absolutely can see how that works. Now, do I love that it makes voiceover seem cheap? No, not at all. And I think to each and everyone out there, it is up to you to make that decision whether you want your brand associated with that brand, because that's a whole other way of doing business, right? So again, you're almost working for the platform.
Yeah.
And then that platform represents your brand. Versus, let's say, for me, I've always been, let's do it myself. And SEO, for me, I've been online for years and it's worked in my favor. And I've built up a great clientele list. And I'm very fortunate that I'm able to continue on that. And while I am a member of a lot of pay-to-plays, I don't have time to actually audition. For me, email marketing, while it's probably not quite as effective, it's hard to say. I still believe that there's effectiveness in email marketing if you've got the right message and you have the right subject line, because people have less and less of an attention span. But it's one of the reasons why I built the VO Boss Blast. It was a way to help direct market talent. And I basically started it for myself. Isn't that like every company, right? If you create a product,
you do it to serve your own
interest.
Needs.
I did it because I was like, I don't have time. I want to do the podcast. I want to do VO Peeps. I'm coaching, so I don't have a ton of time. So let me just create a direct marketing product that I can use. And then, of course, I shared that.
I do want to say for the record, I have not booked anything on Fiverr. I set up my gig. I made adjustments to my rates because you're supposed to refresh it and try to feed the algorithm. I could not book anything. I also did the same exercise on Upwork. And it works similarly, and I got the same results. I could not book anything. I guess that just means I'm not a particularly good voice actor.
No, I think it's because you didn't have 100% of your time to really devote to it. I mean, that's what I think, honestly.
That's a part of it. And the other thing is understanding the economies of the voice seekers versus the economies and understanding of money and how it works, of the country of origin of the voice actor, too.
Absolutely. And Tom, I'll be the first one to say, I mean, we've been in this business a long time. If you were on Voice 123 in 2006, right, you remember Freelancer.
Oh, I was on Freelancer.
Oh, God.
And
so was
Elance and Guru.
And Elance and,
I was on all
of those evolved into Fiverr. Really, that's really what it was like. Who could bid the lowest? Right? And I will tell you that entering into the online space, I mean, that's where I did get some jobs. Now, did I take jobs that were probably not what I was worth? Yeah, I did. I did, but I learned quickly. And it was frustrating because it was always people underbidding. And so you get that type of client. But what you do is you learn about where those clients, right? Those are the clients that don't value your product.
Right.
Not necessarily you, but they don't value the product enough to pay the price, right?
And
they
the
want to
lower
pay
they pay,
cheapest.
the bigger of a pain they are.
Exactly. So, wow, what a great conversation, Tom. This has been so wonderful and enlightening for the bosses out there, I'm quite sure. Tom, how can people get in touch with you and work with you?
Oh, go to vostrategist.com. I encourage you to book a free 15-minute consult. We can talk about any part of the voiceover industry that you want. I also have a video shop where I've got closing in on 30 different videos covering everything in the voiceover industry, from time management to workflow to genre exploration to managing your finances. I also have a great mentorship program where you can do 30-minute check-ins with me once a week, once a month, or twice a month. It also gives you access to some of those videos for free. But book a session with me, a free session with me at vostrategist.com, and I'd love to chat with you.
Good stuff, Tom. Yeah, bosses, today more than ever, we need a strategy for moving forward in our business. So go to it. Tom, thank you again. I would like to talk to you bosses about, as individuals, it can seem difficult to make a huge impact, but as a group, we can contribute to the growth of our communities in ways that we never thought possible. Visit 100voiceswhocare.org to learn how. And a big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses like Tom and myself. Find out more at ipdtl.com. You guys have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your host, Ann Ganguza. And take your business to the next level. Sign up for our mailing list at voboss.com and receive exclusive content, industry revolutionizing tips and strategies, and new ways to rock your business like a boss. Redistribution with permission, coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.